creators. I'm Cynthia Gugian-Fisher of Creative You. Welcome to Sharing Saturday. Each Saturday, I'll share a quick tip, project, or topic for discussion on the Polymer Clay Learning Club Facebook page. This week, I'm sharing how I make these retro cane-covered wooden beads with the Tiny Pandora Wood Bead Kit. The kit is available at tinypandora.com. I like the Tiny Pandora Wood Bead Kit because the beads are always a consistent size, and the holes aren't too big or too small. And the metal chopsticks conveniently hold the beads when I'm embellishing or baking. You'll need 3 different colors of polymer clay in light, medium, and dark values. You'll need about an ounce of each color. If you'd like to use the same colors that I've used, I've included the color recipes in this video. To make the cane, you'll need an extruder and a round cutter that's slightly smaller than the opening to your extruder barrel. I used a triangle-shaped extruder disc for my cane, but other geometric shapes would also work. You'll also need a craft knife, some liquid clay, a tissue blade, various small cutters, a burnisher, some patty paper, and a pasta machine. For my lightest value, I created an off-white color. I combined 10 parts of Sculpey Primo white clay with 1/4 part of Sculpey Primo burnt umber and an 1/8 part of Sculpey Primo cadmium yellow. For my medium value, I created a gold color. I combined 10 parts of Sculpey Primo cadmium yellow with 1 part of Sculpey Primo orange and 1.5 parts of Sculpey Primo burnt umber. For my darkest value, I used Sculpey Primo burnt umber straight out of the package. Begin by rolling out your lightest colored clay at the thickest setting of your pasta machine. Then use your cutter to cut out as many circles as possible. Repeat this process with your medium colored clay and then your darkest colored clay. Once your circles are cut, create stacks 2 circles high. Repeat this with your darkest color and your lightest color. Then stack the 3 colors of circles on top of one another. Keep the same pattern throughout. Here, my pattern was dark, then medium, then light. I continued stacking the clay circles until I had a column the same length as my extruder barrel. Place the column of clay into the extruder barrel. Then place the disc inside the extruder cap and put the cap on the barrel. Then extrude all of the clay in the extruder barrel. Try not to stop and start. You want one long continuous piece. Once you've extruded all of the clay, you may have to trim off small pieces from each end in order to see the pattern. Cut the extruded clay into strips 4 inches long. Once all of the strips are cut, place 5 or 6 of them right next to each other with the point of the triangle facing up. If you work on a piece of paper like this, it makes it easy to slide the strips around and get them very close to one another. Then place the rest of the strips on top of this first row of 5 or 6. This time, the triangle will point down, and it will fit in between the strips on the first row. When you're finished, your cane will look something like this. Place a piece of deli paper or patty paper over the cane and burnish it with your finger. This is just to get all of the strips to stick together with no air bubbles or gaps. Roll out a sheet of burnt umber clay at the medium setting of your pasta machine. Place the cane on this sheet and then use a blade to trim the burnt umber sheet to fit the cane. Repeat this process with a sheet of gold clay that's been rolled out at the medium setting of your pasta machine. Then roll out the off-white or your lightest color of clay at the thickest setting on your pasta machine. And once again, trim it to fit the cane. Then add one more layer of the medium setting gold and one more layer of the medium setting burnt umber. Your final cane should look like this: a layer of triangles and then a layer of stripes. Once again, cover the cane with a sheet of patty paper and burnish with your finger. When you finish burnishing, take some slices from the cane. Use a rigid, stiff blade and hold the blade close to the sides of your cane. That helps you keep control. Learning to take even slices from a cane can take a little bit of practice. Some people will practice on a block of scrap clay. Don't focus on thin slices. Focus on even slices. The thinness will come. Once you have some slices, put them together to create a veneer. Here, I place slices next to each other on the diagonal. I drew a line on my patty paper as a guide. Again, working on the patty paper makes it easy to slide things around and place them just where you want them. Place a piece of patty paper over your veneer and then burnish it. I'm using a furniture slide, but oftentimes people will use the back of a spoon, a coffee tamper, or even a doorknob. Place your veneer on a backing sheet. I used some of the burnt umber rolled out at the medium setting on my pasta machine. Choose the template that corresponds to the bead you'd like to cover. Place it over the veneer with the backing, and then use your craft knife to cut it out. The cutout is the exact size that you'll need to cover your bead. Once your veneer is cut out from the template, place your wooden bead on the metal chopstick. Then cover the bead with a thin layer of liquid clay. Then place the veneer on the bead. Gently press the seam closed. and use your fingers to shape the clay around the bead. If necessary, you can use your craft knife to trim any excess clay from the end of the bead. When you're happy with your bead, bake it at the manufacturer's recommended temperature for the recommended amount of time. I usually place my chopstick right on a bead rack. But you can take it off of the chopstick and just stand it up on a tile. You can experiment with all different kinds of veneers. Here, I'm cutting some stripes in half with a bent wavy blade. Then I used the same bent wavy blade to cut some of the off-white clay. Then I pieced the two cut pieces of clay together. Then I used a piece of patty paper and my finger to burnish the two pieces of clay together very well. I made sure they were seamless. I used a small round cutter to create some holes on the off-white side of this veneer. I used the same round cutter to cut circles from scrap veneer. Then I placed the scrap circles inside the empty circles on the off-white side of the veneer. This is called a cut and replace veneer. Then I followed the same steps I followed for the first bead. I burnished. Then I placed the veneer onto a backing sheet. Then I cut it out with the correct size template. Then I placed it on the bead covered with liquid clay. I refined it, trimmed it, and baked it just as before. I made a few other interesting veneers. Unfortunately, I don't have time to show you all of them, but I'm sure you get the picture. With one simple extruder cane, I was able to make a variety of beads. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, let me know in the comments. And if you make some beads, please post them on the Polymer Clay Learning Club Facebook page. I'd love to see them. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Until next time, keep creating.